Guys, and welcome to another edition of Weekend Bookends. Since the last time I spoke to you, I have lost a couple of books and kind of abandoned one. The books I lost was The Magician's Nephew from the Chronicles of Narnia, so I like to read them in order. I know you can read them in publication order rather than chronological order, but I want to read them in chronological order. So until I find The Magician's Nephew, Chronicles of Narnia is kind of out the window. I've lost On Writing by Stephen King. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in my room. You guys know how it is with me and books. I could literally just put it down for a second, get out of my bed, go switch off the light and come back. It's gone. Gone, gone, gone. It's probably down the side of my bed. A lot of books end up down there. So do a lot of socks. Not that you need to know that, but my socks tend to go on holiday down the side of the bed for weeks on end. And as for In the Red by Alexis Hall, I have read that several times, and I just kind of read it to re-inspire me to save money and curb my spending habits and decrease whatever debt I have, and it kind of served its purpose, so I shelved it again. And since then my reading has been all over the shop, and I did pick up some new books, and yeah, I'll show you those in just a second. But as for what I have been reading, like I said, it's been all over the shop. I've been reading, I was reading the Winner's Curse. I started reading Harry Potter. I was reading some Brandon Sanderson. I went through my Kindle so many times. You know, there's like I have so much stuff in my Kindle. It's so overwhelming. I don't know what to do with it all. I really need to like clean out my Kindle. And I just kind of couldn't really focus on anything. The one book that I did want to read on my Kindle, it was a corrupt file. I was like, oh. Because it wasn't a purchased one from me. I was given the file from someone else. Shh. But that's where I will get into what I purchased. So the corrupt file was The Crown of Midnight. I was always intending to purchase a physical copy of it anyways. I didn't feel so bad having a not so legit loan copy. I'm sure I'm not the only person who does that. I'm sure I'm not. But whenever I get given some form of copy of something, I always end up purchasing it legitimately anyway, so I never really feel bad. But yeah, Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas. I was really in the mood to read this, and the copy didn't work, so I went out and purchased it, and at the same time I picked up The Blade Assassin. I do still need to get a copy of, like a physical copy. I've already purchased Throne of Glass on my Kindle. I just need to get Throne of Glass in a card copy, and then I'll have them all in paperback, and they'll all look so pretty. Or they would if Assassin's Blade was the same colour spine. But you know. So Crown of Midnight is the second in the Throne of Glass series. Assassin's Blade is like a prequel set of Throne of Glass novellas. They were set before, and you kind of gives you more about Celaena's history and how she came to be the person she is. So I'm really excited to read those. And it was 3 for 2 in W.H. Smith on all children's fiction, and I think it still is actually. So I picked up Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and this has been on my Amazon wishlist for ages. I even got a sample of it on my Kindle to see what I thought of it, and I figured, you know, it was 3 for 2. I've always been wanting to read it, so I picked it up. I also went back a second time to W.H. Smith because I had a voucher that got you £5 off when you spent £15 or more on books, and you know I'm not passing that up, like, ever. So I picked up another Sarah Waters book. I already own 2, one of which I'm reading and we'll talk about in a second. This is The Little Stranger, and this is about a family who live in the countryside, and there's like a ghost in their house kind of thing. If you don't know who Sarah Waters is, she's the lady who wrote The Fingersmith, Tipping the Velvet, Night Watch, and I believe her newest book is called The Paying Guests. There was also, I can't for the life of me remember her channel name. I will write it along here, but she did an overview of Sarah Waters and her work, and it was really interesting and insightful, and it kind of inspired me to read more Sarah Waters, so I picked this up, and I will probably get The Paying Guests at some point as well. And I will also link that video in the info box because you guys need to check it out. It's really interesting. And being as I needed to up my threshold to over £15 to get the £5 off, I decided to finish off the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I already have, ooh, I can't remember the name of it. The name of it being The Final Empire. Mistborn Final Empire, so we have The Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages. And I think there might actually be a fourth one to this. I'm not sure if it's actually just a trilogy. I think it might be a series. And there's also a novella that goes along with this as well. They had that. And I'm kind of hoping to get to the Mistborn series really, really soon. So yeah, those are the books I purchased. What I'm actually reading at the moment is Sarah Waters' The Night Watch. And this is set just after the Second World War in London, and it follows group of characters whose lives interweave, and it's told in third person but from different viewpoints. It follows Kay, who is a very sort of out and proud lesbian who dresses very mannish. It follows this boy Duncan, who lives with a rather old man who visits a doctor that lives in Kay's building. It also follows Duncan's sister Vivian, who works in what I could only describe as a dating agency with Helen, who I'm not quite sure yet how she will link back into the other characters. She's the only one that isn't in some way connected with the other characters as yet. I'm only about 150 pages in. I've noticed that with not having read a lot lately, my reading pace has dramatically decreased. So it's going to take me a while to get through this. But I really love the way Sarah Waters writes. She's very detailed, she's very descriptive, and she makes you feel things for the characters. And the character of Duncan is very strange. I'm not sure if he's meant to be gay, or if he's meant to be not quite right in the head, or if he's like mentally disabled. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but we'll find out as the story progresses. They're very complex characters, and she's introducing, there's lots of minor characters to keep track of that have key parts in how the characters interact, and I like it a lot. And the other book I'm reading currently is The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell, which I've only read again about 100 pages of, and there's not really much to tell, so I will just read you the synopsis that's in the leaf. One drowsy summer's day in 1984, teenage runaway Holly Sykes encounters a strange woman who offers a small kindness in exchange for asylum. Decades will pass before Holly understands exactly what sort of asylum the woman was seeking. The Bone Clocks follows the twists and turns of Holly's life, from a scarred adolescence in Gravesend to old age on Ireland's Atlantic coast. As Europe's oil supply dries up, a life not so far out of the ordinary, yet punctuated by flashes of precognition, visits from people who emerge from thin air in brief lapses in the laws of reality. For Holly Sykes, daughter, sister, mother, guardian, is also an unwitting player in a murderous feud played out in the shadows and margins of our world, and may prove to be a decisive weapon. May prove to be its decisive weapon. Metaphysical thriller, meditation on morality, and chronicle of our self-devouring times, this kaleidoscopic novel crackles with the invention and wit that have made David Mitchell one of the most celebrated writers of his generation. Here is fiction at its most spellbinding and memorable best. So I'm guessing this might play with a bit of like alternate realities, or like time, you know, bending of time and space, probably. That's, I don't know. I know that he does, when he wrote Cloud Atlas, it played a lot with alternate realities and parallel universes, and I'm excited. I quite like what I've read so far. It just starts off as a very, you know, run-of-the-mill kind of story where, you know, it's just this teenage girl who's been heartbroken, so she decides to leave home and just walks, and she meets this old lady who knows her name, but, you know, it doesn't click inside Holly's head how this woman knows her name. But yeah, very excited by this. And the cover was kind of what drew me to it. I will admit, I do like a good cover, and that is a very pretty cover. It's just bog standard black on the inside, but ooh, apart from the end papers are cute. They're yellow. I like bright coloured end papers. And yeah, so that is what I'm currently reading at the moment, and those are my most recent purchases, and hopefully I will get through these quite quickly, and I will progress onto other things. I do want to read the Mistborn series eventually, well, not eventually, relatively soon, and I do need to clear out my Kindle so that it's less intimidating, because there are over 1,000 files on there. Over 1,000 people, most of which were free books from Amazon or NetGalley review copies, which I still have to read and review. So I have a lot of catching up to do this year, so wish me luck. And if you have any recommendations, feel free to let me know in the comments below. You never know, I might already own it and bump it up to the top of my reading list. So I will catch you guys later. Thank you for watching.